The play is called Emergency Used Candles, and it's about it's based on the almost 10 years that I spent living with my grandfather. The plot of the story is very much about a young woman who is trying to figure out who she is and what her place is in the world, and she just happens to live with this very particular old man who's her grandfather. The real story is that my grandmother died very unexpectedly, and when she died, I was out of the country. About a month or two after she passed away, I moved in. I was in college, and and he needed somebody. I thought he needed somebody. What I realized was that I needed him more than he probably needed me. The image that has been used thus far as like the poster for my play is a picture of my grandfather that none of us seem to remember having seen before. We think it was a high school photograph of my grandfather, which would have been from the 20s. So none of us had seen it or knew of it in all those years, and then there it was. Those pictures, I mean, we just sort of sat and sorted through them, and those were sort of the best of what we had, the happiest memories, I guess. Yeah, I mean, it was weird. Like, we looked back at all these pictures of my early childhood, and it seems like it's all happened so fast, and now there are just these little pieces of paper to remember it by. But that was, we just sat and went through what we had. When I was very little, he came across as very strong and very serious, but he was always kidding and joking around. And he had told me at one point that my grandmother was dating Frank Sinatra, and that she was like, Frank Sinatra was totally in love with her, and she was in love with him until she met my grandfather. And I must have been about 9 or 10 before I realized that was not exactly true. Obviously, I mean, we were always at my grandparents' house. So for me, I think the experience of leaving this neighborhood made me identify with it more. Like the first moment I was able to move back, I moved back. You know, this neighborhood has always been the place where I have felt at home. And here, you know, I was always just accepted. The Guido thing was like, you know, to me, I mean, those were our sort of teenage years, our formative years, and my brother Franco, you know, I don't want to speak for him, but you know, that was his stylistic choice or his musical choice, and for me, it was very, very, very different. I wasn't a Guido because I didn't like that kind of music, you know. I mean, that just wasn't the type of music that I liked. I've always been kind of into books and literature and poetry and things that are well written and sort of substantive, and so it just wasn't my musical choice or my stylistic choice, you know. I've always felt very proud to be Italian American and very, very proud of my culture, and enjoyed it. You know, I love the wonderful sides of our culture, of the tradition and family, and also the tradition of art and music and cinema. Italian cinema is like those, you know, films we were talking about earlier, Vittorio De Sica. Those movies affected me. They really affected me at a young age. I probably fell in love with movies before I fell in love with theater. And, you know, I've been a part of Barefoot Theatre Company since, I don't know, 2001, 2002. And I've learned so much working on stage and working with this group of fantastic artists, and I continue to. So theater for me, I mean, it keeps you working, and it's really, you know, when you walk out on stage, that's it. You're in it. You're in it to win it. There's no retake. There's no going back, and all kinds of crazy fun things can happen. So it's really great. My family is loving and supportive. I think they had normal reservations about it initially, and now, of course, they're so happy and they're so proud of me. and they're at every performance. And my cousins have come in from New Jersey, from Pennsylvania, from Long Island, from Westchester, from all over, just to see me on stage for an hour, and that feels like that feels really good. A few years ago, we were doing a production of a Lanford Wilson play called Balm in Gilead. We were doing the 40th anniversary production of Balm in Gilead. And in that play, that's a play with a huge cast. 28 people are in that cast. And most of them are prostitutes and drug addicts. And I played the one character who was not. I played Kay the waitress. Well, so my brother and his then fiancée, his now wife, brought my grandfather at 95 to see this production of Balm in Gilead. And I would go on stage about 10-15 minutes before the show opened, and I was a waitress, so I was taking care of my diner. I was making coffee, I was cleaning the tables, I was sweeping around. So I remember the day he came, I walked out on stage and I started doing my waitress thing, and all of a sudden, like not 2 seconds later, I hear, "Sweetheart, I'm over here." Like, he's totally waving at me from the audience. He was just so proud to see me on stage. And then the hookers came out, and the hookers were like, "Oh, this is too fun." So he was having a blast with these girls who were playing hookers who were trying to pick him up. It was hysterical. It was so funny. Then he would say to me things like, it's not an easy life you've chosen, but what can I do? I was so blessed and so fortunate to have the experience that I had with him, and I learned so much from him, and I hope that this play lets me share that and share him a little bit with whoever comes to see it.